Good afternoon and welcome to the Glenorchy City Council open workshop for the 18th of May 2026. In the spirit of transparency, we hold these open sessions on a regular basis to give community an insight into our decision-making process. And as we've been told by one of our constituents, democracy dies in darkness. So we do our best to be as open as we can with our community. I begin by acknowledging the Marinina people as the traditional owners of this land and recognise the Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the original owners and continuing custodians of the land and waters of this island, Lutruwita. I pay my respects to Aboriginal elders past and present. Glenorchy City Council is committed to working in a way that welcomes and respects all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Joining me here in Council Chambers today are Alderman Peter Riddler, thank you Peter, Alderman Justin Stringer, thank you Justin, Councillor Molly Kendall, thanks Molly, Alderman Tim Marks, thank you, Alderman Russell Yaxley, who's also our Deputy Mayor. We have Emilio Reali, who's the CEO of this organisation, Alderman Stephen King, and Alderman Shane Alderton. We have apologies from Alderman Stuart Slade and Josh Cockshut, and I'm your Mayor, Sue Hickey. Now, at the start of all of our meetings, closed or open workshops and council meetings, we do like to bring everyone up to speed with what's happened during the week. Tonight we have two interesting and topical sessions, but before we introduce them and our guests, I'll do the updates. So the Youth Hub, which is slide 1, last Thursday saw our very first drop-in session at the Youth Hub. It was a great success with young people coming together to connect, relax and check out the activities and services that the Youth Hub is offering. We were pleased to welcome the Leader of the Opposition, Josh Willie MP, who stopped by to check out the Youth Hub in action and talk to participants about the importance of this valuable space. The Hub will open each Thursday afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. until the end of June, just to give us enough time to check our operating procedures in place are fully tested. From the 1st of July, the Hub will be open 5 days a week after school from 3 to 5 p.m. This is a period of time where we see children most at risk or young people most at risk in that time that they leave school before catching the bus home. From a city safety perspective, I'm pleased to report that our latest Safety City briefing has revealed that April was a very quiet month with only 2 public disturbances on the front lawn. Pool update. Are you ready? Anyone got a guess on where we're up to now?
89%?
No. At this stage, we do seem to be moving at a snail's pace, but it is all the finishing touches, like, door handles being screwed on and all of those type of things that's going to make it a wonderful pool facility. It's 82%, so you're fairly close. The gas heater has been installed, the change room building is ready for an occupancy inspection, and the changing place pod, which is up there on the screen, has been installed and is undergoing occupancy testing in preparation for its use. Once the head contract is completed by the 30th of June, Council will take possession of the site to complete painting, landscaping and entrance works ahead of the October 1st opening date, which no doubt is going to be a huge event here in Glenorchy. Community and Volunteer Awards. Last Tuesday, we recognised a group of people who give their time to help Glenorchy make it become a better place. I think everyone around the table who was there would agree it was such a sensational evening. Congratulations to all the incredible winners and nominees recognised in the 2026 Community and Volunteer Awards. It's inspiring to see so many people recognised for the positive impact they make every day. Our community is a much better place because of you. Our winners of the Community Awards this year included Anthony Elder from the Tasmanian Bike Collective as Citizen of the Year, and we might get him and a couple of others to come in and have a talk to us in one of these open workshops, because I think you'll be very inspired by what some of these organisations actually do. Neil Richardson who was instrumental in helping us secure funding for the Youth Hub as Young Citizen of the Year.
Yeah, if I could just say, if anyone heard his interview on Triple M, that was one take. He just was so smooth answering those questions. He's come so far in such a short time.
Yes, I just think anyone that knew Neil when he first presented himself for council and the bad people he was associated with and where he's come to now with our help is an asset. He's now an asset of the community.
Yeah, he's a wonderful fellow, and I do think our community team have been a big part of his success, along with his fantastic foster family. Jeff Bronstein from the Tasmanian Transport Museum as Senior Citizen of the Year, another amazing achiever. Ben Wilson from the Indie School Glenorchy, and local musician and artist Grace Chia as our joint local heroes. So as you can see, a stellar cast of achievers for the community. Now we're moving on to the Cooper Street mural. Street artist Jarman. For those who aren't familiar with Jarman, he is actually very famous and he is a brilliant mural artist. You'll see a few of his artworks around the town. He's got one on the back of Northgate, and there's one in one of the really popular restaurants on the main road, and I think it's also one in Red Square. Luke Emerton and Jarman are making good progress on Cooper Street mural. Excuse me, the council has commissioned. Whilst you won't see much action until Wednesday this week, as the artists are away, I think you'll agree the murals are looking amazing. So it's a series all on, I think it's 2 walls, isn't it, Theo?
It's one continuous wall just next to the Glenorchy Central car park.
So the stairs don't divide that?
I think it's one continuous, right?
Yes, continuous,
Sharing.
and then it's all the ramp going up
Yeah,
to
goes
the
90 degrees.
as well.
Whatever, it looks amazing. The Intercity Cycleway CCTV. This is something very important to your council. Installation of CCTV along the Intercity Cycleway has commenced across a number of hotspots identified by our friends at the police. The first installation site is between the Granada and Claremont service station, which will be followed by Moona and Glenorchy sites. Windermere Bay track upgrade. The next stage of the Windermere track upgrade is underway and will continue through to the end of June. The track extends approximately 650 metres from Conaware Bay to Knights Point Reserve, Berridale. This upgrade will connect the previous track improvement works completed between Lowestoft Bay to Conaware Bay, further enhancing the continuity and accessibility of the foreshore trail network, getting a step closer to the complete trail network from Berridale foreshore to Windermere Bay Reserve. Outstanding. Tolosa Park. As part of our continuing efforts to revitalise Tolosa Park, the boardwalk over the wetlands has now been completed and is open to the public. And doesn't that look amazing? It's a complete transformation of that magnificent reserve Tolosa Park, and I think that just caps it off. Still got to wait for Steve's fish, but that may or may never eventuate.
I've got a couple of goldfish at the office that have got to go somewhere.
I don't think that's appropriate at all. Open workshop introduction. This afternoon we have 2 workshop sessions. Our first session will focus on road safety, which is a passion close to many of us, and certainly to our speaker, Peter Fraser. In fact, he's given most of his life now to this cause. And this is in conjunction with this week's National Road Safety Week. We will hear about the lasting impacts of road trauma, the importance of safer driving behaviours, and practical ways our community can help reduce incidents and save lives. National Road Safety Week, an annual initiative from the Safer Australian Roads and Highways, the SARA group, partnering road safety organisations and government to make our roads safer. Our guest speakers this afternoon are Peter Fraser, OAM, the President of the SARA group, followed by Inspector Jason Klug and Inspector Vanessa Castle from Tasmania Police. Our first speaker is Peter, who is joining us online today. Welcome, Peter. On the 15th of February 2012, Peter's daughter Sarah was killed by a truck driver in a completely avoidable crash on the Hume Freeway in New South Wales. Since then, he founded the Sarah Group and has dedicated his life to improving road safety in Australia and overseas. He created and remains the driving force behind both Australia's National Road Safety Week and the nation's road safety symbol, the yellow ribbon. Glenorchy City Council is proud to be a yellow ribbon council and will recognise Road Safety Week this week through a pop-up safety store with Tasmania Police and the Council's Safe City Lead on Wednesday the 20th of May from 12 to 1:30 at Northgate Shopping Centre. So if you can be there, that would be good. A National Road Safety Week barbecue on the front lawns of Council from 2:30 to 3:30 this Friday, 22nd of May, where community are invited to join us for a free barbecue and some road safety activities and giveaways. A road safety display in the foyer of Chambers, messaging on our social media channels throughout the week. And following Peter's presentation, the inspectors Castle and Klug will talk to us about road safety in the local context. In the next session, Council's Work Manager, Matthew Browning, will give us an overview of the structure and function of the Work Centre. This will give us a better understanding of the scope of services delivered, the challenges and opportunities facing operational areas, and the value these functions provide to residents, businesses and council. And now it's my very great honour to pass over to the fabulous Peter Fraser. Peter.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and the councillors. It's my privilege to actually be online with you. I'm up in Brisbane. We're launching National Road Safety Week at Parliament House here in about an hour and a half, in actual fact. So not a lot of time to go for me. As Mayor said, back in 2012, I got brought into this space when our beautiful daughter Sarah Fraser was killed in a completely avoidable road crash by a distracted truck driver. She'd broken down on the Hume Freeway. And in that period of time, I was actually a manager with Roads Maritime Services. So I was actually working in the area. And while road safety was always a concern, and certainly for anyone who's got kids, you know, you never ever relax until that engine turns off when they get home. But I never thought that we would probably be brought into that space. When Sarah was killed, back now 14 years ago, for the first month I couldn't even talk. Being a victim of road trauma was not something that I could have ever imagined. And 2 days after, we were at home, and my eldest son, who these days, Benny, who was at the time an apprentice carpenter, and I very unkindly say is the most inarticulate person in the world, but he said to me two things that changed my life. He said that we had to do something in Sarah's name, and he comes up with at that moment, and we'll call the organisation Safer Australian Roads and Highways, Sarah. And he said the other thing, we've got to get people to look after those on the road ahead. We've got to get people to drive so others survive. And that actually became the fundamental theme of National Road Safety Week. And for the last 14 years, we've been very fortunate in that theme has spread across the nation and is also used internationally. One of the things before I go any further, I want to say specifically thank you to the Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, to councillors, because from our point of view, the most important area for road safety is at the local community level, because we say that's literally where the rubber hits the road. What happens in your area, and Glenorchy being a Yellow Ribbon Road Safety Council, the focus is on your community. And the reality is when something goes wrong within a local area, it doesn't affect just the individuals, their parents, the loved ones, but it also affects the community. I'll use the example for myself where back in 2012, when we were burying my beautiful daughter, I tied a yellow ribbon to the aerial of our car. It was just because it was Sarah's favourite colour. But what happened amazingly was that our community in the Blue Mountains, they started tying yellow ribbons in solidarity with us. And as that spread into South Australia and into Tasmania, in 2015, it became the national symbol for road safety. And every time I go down to Tassie, it's my great privilege to be able to see, Ambulance Tasmania running around with yellow ribbons on the back, and SRT and councils and individuals. Because what they're doing is they've become the advocates for road safety. These days, after 14 years, I'm certainly the talking head, but it's your advocacy which makes a difference. It's your advocacy which gets everyone home safe. And for that, I just want to acknowledge it. In terms of road safety, each year we now lose over 1,300 people. When Sarah was killed back 14 years ago, that figure was 1,180. And the Commonwealth, State and Territories have agreed that by 2030, we were going to halve that figure down to just 570. But unbelievably, in the last 5 years, we've had increasing rates. In fact, since Sarah was killed, we've had 17,000 Australians killed and more than 700,000 now serious injuries. So this is a true epidemic. But, we've got the ability to make a change. This year, the theme is distraction and how we can prevent that. And one of the things that we did just last month was to do a national survey. And unbelievably, one of the things that came out of that survey was that for our millennials and also Gen Z, that they admitted to using their mobile phones to take images, to take photos, and also to use for videos. And that was 40% for millennials and 50% for our Gen Z. And this is their own admission. I'm shocked by the figures that we found. But the other thing that gives me hope is that one of the other questions was, would you be taken aback or insulted if your passengers said to you, don't use your phone while I'm in that vehicle? And over 90% said no, they think that would be a good idea. Distraction, especially from mobile phone use, has now become one of the killers. But we've got controls over that. And, I ask the community, if you see some aberrant behaviour while you're in that vehicle, say no. Tell the driver, this is unacceptable, because it's not just putting the driver and yourself at risk, it's putting everyone on the road at risk. So that's something that we can actually do. And during National Road Safety Week, we ask people if they would also go and take the pledge. If they go to roadsafetyweek.com.au, there's a pledge there. And in that pledge, what we're doing is we're not taking email addresses or telephone numbers. Individuals make their personal pledge to drive so others survive, not to drive under the influence, not to speed, not to drive distracted, not to drive tired. They're making that pledge to themselves, but also to their loved ones. And I often will say, how about we make this agreement between the two of us? I'll look after your family and you look after mine so that everyone can get home safe. I suppose the only other thing I want to say is we, 14 years ago, started Road Safety Week, and it actually in Queensland, it jumped across the border as Transurban or Queensland Motorways at the time said they wanted to light the gateway bridges in yellow for this event. And over the course of the last 13 years, this national event has meant that there's a great interest in trying to protect each other. And that's what we need to do as a community. We need to say that we can't lose anyone on the road. These 1,300 plus deaths are avoidable in the vast majority. But we have to make decisions. We have to make decisions to get off our phone, not to drive distracted, not to speed. And if we do that, we'll not only get ourselves home safe, but we'll also get everyone else's loved one home safe. And so that's our commitment. So when you see those yellow ribbons on the backs of the vehicles or council buildings lit up in yellow and other buildings around Tasmania lit up in yellow, That's a sign to say, and for us to remind ourselves that we're responsible for each other. Lastly, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, Her Excellency Sam Mostyn, has made a video again. This is the second year she's made a video. And she mentions the fact that one of the things about Australia that she loves is that we rely on each other. We're kind to each other. Well, that's what we've got to take to the streets. That's what we've got to take when we drive. We become anonymous in those vehicles, but let's remember that in actual fact, we are community, and that's the whole point. Communities look after ourselves. So look, I'll just finish right now, and I'm happy if council wishes to ask me any questions. But I want to just acknowledge Glenorchy City Council for the work they do and the commitment they've shown in this space, and for the support they've shown for Safe Australian Roads and Highways, and specifically here National Road Safety Week. You guys are making the difference, and it's your community, and not just your community, but the whole of Tasmania, which are the beneficiaries, and everyone who travels your roads. So as I just conclude now, let me say again, thank you for the commitment that you have, and thank you, Mayor Hickey, for the commitment that you've shown and the kindness that you've also shown personally as well. So I'll finish on that, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Peter, I think you'd be really pleased that over the years, if you come into our car park, you'll see all of our council cars with yellow stickers everywhere. Everyone's got them. And I've made sure members of the family have them as well. And if there's any elected members you have, you have
2 on my car.
2 on yours, yes. They're a great way of finding a white car in the middle of a big car park, but they do such a good cause in reminding us to drive safely. So if anyone needs a car sticker, you need one. Christine, jumping up and down there with a hand up in the air, she can get you one. So, Peter, I'm so sad this was born out of grief, but I remain so totally impressed by how you've turned this into a lifelong commitment to save other people from going through what you went through. Is there any elected official who'd like to ask a question? Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, concur with everything that's been said, Peter, amazing. Is there any new initiatives, anything else that we can do? I guess, obviously we've got, the ribbons and the things we put on the car, which is fantastic. Is there anything new or is there anything that you'd like from us to see, the cause and I guess the message growing further?
Yeah, look, I think there's certainly pushing out that concept that we're responsible for each other is absolutely fundamental to the work that we do. And I think the other thing which, from a position of certainly the local roads, I know that there's the AUSRAP, the Australian Road Assessment Program, has been going through and seeing what our roads are like. And we're an advocate for what we call 3-star or better roads. We're trying to get that up to a level where every road in Australia is as safe as it can be. And we recognise that there's no unlimited amount of money. But one of the things that AUSRAP and ourselves consider is when we can actually lower speed limits if we can't improve road design, then that's a way of actually ensuring that people travel along it at a rate where, especially in local areas where kids are running around or old people on there, to make certain that those speeds are appropriate, to make certain that people don't get hit and seriously injured or killed. So that's a consideration, I think, and that's a long-term consideration. Certainly today, the Transport Australia, used to be Roads Australia, the Australasian College of Road Safety, and ourselves would be putting out a media release across the nation, speaking specifically about that, because that's a consideration I think that we need to raise. And certainly we've had some success. You're probably familiar with probably about 12 months ago, the Tasman Highway up from Scamander heading north up to St Helens was actually reduced in speed from 100 kilometres down to 90 kilometres in areas which were just simply unsafe. And the mayor was the advocate for that, as with the community, to make certain, as I say, everyone could get home safe. So we do, and within state growth, there's real commitment to try and do that. As I've got to say, the minister, of course, being an ex-mayor, is also a person who recognised the importance of protecting our own communities. So that would be something, I think, a long-term thing for consideration. Certainly where we've set speed limits too high, then that's something that, especially around, areas where kids are going to play, just a consideration. I think that would be really important. But in the meantime, I think allowing the community to recognise that council is actually an advocate for getting everyone home safe, to getting everyone to drive so others survive, because it is. I'm so proud of Glenorchy and what it's been doing to try and get that message out. So I think that just the reinforcement of that is really important. Other than that, I think council's doing actually a wonderful job, and I'm really happy to. Hopefully in September I'll be down there again, and I'm hoping to do a thank you to council because I'm really proud of the work that you guys do.
Thank you. Alderman Alderton.
Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation, Peter. My question is, you've mentioned about the rising death toll keeps going higher and higher and higher, and the great work that organisations like yourself do. Do you actually get enough funding? Is there anything we can do as a council, as individuals, to lobby state governments and federal governments for more funding? Do you actually need more funding?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The funny part, we often say that we're little people with extraordinarily large feet as a group, because we're a small NGO, but because of the fact that I'll just mention a little bit about my background. My background was in compliance enforcement and intelligence work, and primarily policy work. I started off, 40 years ago as an assistant secretary to a thing called Catholic Commission Justice and Peace. And so the issue with road safety is that this is a human right. This is social justice. Literally, that's the work that we're doing and council is doing every day. So from our point of view, even as a small organisation, we've been fortunate that we've been able to work both nationally and also a bit internationally. But at the end of the day, we're a small family-based group with some Sarah members and the like. So yes, it's a bit of a struggle, but our commitment before when I left my full-time job, etc., and my wife is primarily the other person that helps. But yeah, that's a real issue for us because we're obviously an organisation which runs on the smell of an oily rag, as they say. So anything sent back to the minister and to state growth, if they kick in a couple of $1,000 a year, that would be great if that was also increased. Because one of the things, as you well know, I have a particular penchant for coming down to Tasmania. I love being there, and it would be great if I was able to do that a little bit more often than I have been in the past. So yes, I'm certainly happy if you talk to the minister, and certainly happy if you talk to state growth about the same thing. That'd be lovely. Thank you, but not a requirement ever.
No, Peter, our government apparently is on an austerity drive, but we're still more than happy to write on your behalf. I do have a question. A couple of years ago, I went to TMAG and you and some supporters presented, and I think you had sort of like a Neanderthal type man showing what type of body type we'd need to survive an accident, like really thick neck and all of these things. But you also had forgive me if I got the terminology wrong, someone who fixes bones and things like that. And so he talked about someone coming through the door after a severe car accident and what had broken and what had pierced, and it was absolutely frightening. Can I suggest you revisit that? Because I think something as confrontational as that really makes you sit up and think, and we should invite some young people to come along and view it.
Yeah, look, two parts. That's the things called Graham, and the Transport Accident Commission actually built Graham to show that if we're in a situation where a person could withstand the forces associated, this would be what Graham would be. And the other person who actually used to work out of the Royal Hobart Hospital was Dr. John Crozier, who's a surgeon who these days works up at Liverpool Hospital. And of course, his work in emergency is specifically what he was talking about, and how this is what they have to face every single day when they're trying to save people's lives. And I think that's actually a really important point, because, you know, as I said, 17,000 people have been killed over the last 14 years and 700,000 serious injuries. People forget, because it's such a traumatic event for families. Often people, and I understand if families can't talk about it, but what happens, that silence means that there's a misunderstanding, as if this doesn't matter. Whereas people are shattered, people roll up into a ball and can't go even out on occasions. As I say, for the first month, I couldn't talk. And my whole life now is doing presentations to across the nation and a bit international these days. But it's such, it stops people from being able to express how they're coping. And that means that our community doesn't recognise how difficult it is for people to cope with either serious injury and looking after someone they love, or alternatively having lost someone, as we did our beautiful daughter Sarah. And you know, I often say, and I will sometimes put on the video that I made for her burial. I played at Mass that day, and her friends asked me to then show it to people. And the reason they said that is because she couldn't be a statistic. And I often think to myself, you know, literally 17,000 other people have also been killed over the course of that time. I'm fortunate in that my beautiful daughter is now part of my life, and many people across the nation know about my beautiful daughter, Sarah. And I think that I'm actually privileged that her life has meant something in terms of her death, and now safe Australian roads and highways, and trying to get changes across the nation. In fact, in New South Wales, where I come from, the Slow Down Move Over law, which we fought to create, and of course there's one in Tasmania and across the nation, is called Sarah's Law. So that will live on forever.
Well, once again, thank you. I suppose we better let you go so you can get to your Parliament event, but we do look forward to seeing you in September.
Look, thank you to everyone, and thank you to councillors and to the community. And I look forward to getting down and seeing you, hopefully September, October, and to do a little presentation of our certificate of appreciation for all your work in this space. Thanks, everyone, and I will take off now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
See you later. Ciao.
So you can see why Council's been a long-term supporter of Peter Fraser and his organisation. Now, it has down here that we're also going to be talking to Inspector Jason Klug in person, it says. And I believe you fought with you, sorry, I've just forgotten.
Vanessa.
Vanessa, yes, sorry, Vanessa. Would you like to come to this table? We'll just get you another chair. So Inspector Vanessa Castle and Inspector Jason Klug. We've got the big guns here.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So, as most of you will probably know, I'm Inspector Jason Klug, in charge of the Glenorchy Policing Division. With me is Inspector Vanessa Castle, who is our road policing inspector, who works out of the Belrive Police Station. Between us both, we've got over 50 years policing experience. So we've unfortunately seen a few things occur on the road and been involved with some changes and some initiatives along the way as well. Road Safety Week, obviously extremely important. It's an important topic and it significantly impacts our community. The victims of serious crashes, their families, the community, and also our emergency responders that are dealing with the unfortunate impacts of decisions that are being made on the road leading to crashes. And no doubt we'll have people here today that are impacted by road trauma. My family has also been impacted as well, so I'm a little bit passionate on that topic, as well as having two young children, one at 14 and one 18 that's just on a P plate. So that's the next level of concern as well. it's really about the whole of community coming together, and Peter addressed that really quite nicely. Police alone can have some impact, but certainly can't deal with and resolve all the issues that we're seeing on the road. So it's important that we all come together as a community to play our part to reduce deaths and serious injuries on our road. So today we're here just to provide you an insight, particularly with regards to Tasmania Police, to give you some information as to the sort of things that we see, the sort of initiatives that are going on, our operations and the like that's occurring. Inspector Castle will commence and obviously give us an overview from her area more broadly within the state, and how that fits into Tasmania Police, and then I'll continue on into some local matters that we're seeing and things that we're doing, initiatives that we're doing, and concerns that we're seeing within the local Glenorchy municipality, as well as dispelling some myths that people are commonly asking us in regards to what police can do and police actions and the like. Importantly for us, it's a really good opportunity for whether it's councillors, members of the public or the like, to please ask us any questions. We will answer as much as we possibly can. Of course, we need to ensure privacy and confidentiality regarding specific incidents and names, but we are more than happy to open and talk about any concerns that you're seeing, any concerns that you may have in the community, and we would be very keen to seek your feedback on anything that we can be doing better as police as well. So I'll hand over to the initial part to Inspector Castle, who will start off.
Thank you, and I apologise that I have my back to you. It feels a little bit rude, but please forgive me for that. So yes, thank you, Jason. So I am the inspector in charge of our road policing section for Southern Tasmania. There are 3 inspectors across our traffic sections across Tasmania. So we have one in the north and one in the northwest as well. So I am Southern Regional Inspector in charge of Southern Road Policing. So I guess I get asked a lot, what are your thoughts on what are the biggest causes of crashes, whether that be serious crashes or fatalities? And I wish I could name one thing, but unfortunately it isn't. Usually one thing that causes the numbers, and I guess, and Peter just gave us some overview numbers over the last sort of 5 years or so. And I guess to give you an idea, each year in Australia, we lose approximately 1,300 lives on our roads, and up to 40,000 people across Australia are either hospitalised and or suffer permanent impairment in relation to traffic crashes. So we are dealing with a large portion of our population that are engaged in either serious or fatal crashes. So when I talk about the things that generally impact or cause or can cause some of those crashes, we talk very often about the fatal 5. And I'm not sure if you've heard that in our media campaigns, and we're often talking about it. And one of those is distraction, which Peter spoke about today, and actually is one of the cornerstones of National Road Safety Week this week. Inattention obviously falls into that distraction category as well. We also have a large number of accidents or crashes in relation to fatigue, and that is people that are driving tired, who just want to get from point A to point B, but don't realise the impact that fatigue can have whilst you are out driving, and the concentration lowers when you are fatigued and tired. Speeding is something that we are targeting really regularly to try to get that message out that speeding is one of those things that causes a lot of crashes in our community. Obviously, drink and drug driving is another major contributor, and we are actively out enforcing drink and drug driving testing regularly across the state. And of course, the not wearing seatbelts. So, we're often out talking to the community and or out doing traffic enforcement around those 5 things. This morning I attended a pledge, as Peter alluded to. I encourage all of you to please get online and support the pledge if you can. But I went out to Hobart City High School this morning where we met with 200 odd students and we spoke to them about the Fatal Five and about inattention on the road. You know, they have grown up in a digital era and mobile phones are sometimes, you know, their lifeblood. So trying to educate and convince our young people, it's not just our young people, I must add, but trying to educate as much as we can to please put your mobile phones away while you're driving. Please make sure that you don't answer calls, you know, don't text, don't Snapchat, all of those things that young people are heavily engaged in. And, you know, it was really reassuring and comforting to know that all of these 200 people there this morning were just so engaged and really willing to sign this pledge. So if you within your community, you know, have anything like that within your schools and you would like to organise a pledge going forward, we would be really happy to support that, because I think education is the key to try and get some of these messages across. Tomorrow I'm out at Cornelian Bay to talk with RACT in relation to young drivers as well, and we're really trying to push the messaging around being patient on the road with our learner drivers. We do see quite a bit, and I guess I have to go so far as to say sometimes it's abuse, or, you know, really being inconsiderate and not patient with our learner drivers. So we do get quite a bit of feedback in our community around that. So we're really trying to encourage road users to be really careful and cautious and just show some patience with our learner drivers on the road as well. Are there any questions or anything that you would like to specifically know, or queries that you might have?
Thank you. So a lot of our injuries, deaths, fatalities from road accidents, is there an age demographic you're identifying? Is there more happening in people, say, under 30 than what there is in people over 30?
Yeah, look, under 25, that age group of people learning to drive up to 25 are absolutely overrepresented in our numbers. Hence, I guess, the reason that we are so passionate about getting out there and educating our young drivers as much as we can. And then, you know, from that age group on, it's split between demographics and also tourists that come to our state, but definitely under the age of, up until the age of 25 is overrepresented in our statistics.
Thank you, Alderman Marks.
One of the things I find is a lot of, especially up where I live, I'm in Canberra Avenue, but there is a lot of hooning going on at the moment, and smoke from the hooning, tyres burning, is causing a real issue where I live at the moment, and a lot of speeding down Canberra. I've had cars past me that I know could be or are doing over 100 k's down Canberra Avenue, because I know you don't know me, but I did 20 years with the state ministers, just cutting people out of cars and that.
Yeah,
so
okay. Yeah.
I've done training with the Burnie police, and so I've learned a lot, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it's getting my hair's getting ridiculous for that. And also on the corner of Canberra and Chapel, there's cars parking dead on the corner and blocking the corner, which is causing a big issue.
Yeah, and thank you very much for sharing that. And Jason will probably go into that in a little bit of detail around some of the operational work he's doing in his division as well. But just to let you know that we encourage reporting. Excellent.
All time.
Thank you. And we're quite often, we will advertise through Crime Stoppers and through our Tasmania Police website, the Enough is Enough website, where dashcam footage and or CCTV footage can be uploaded. Any information like that for police is really, really useful. Our Southern Road Policing area covers, as I mentioned, the whole of the state, but we do work really closely with our individual divisional inspectors. So within the Glenorchy division, that's Jason. And we've recently run a number of operations with Jason and his crews. So if we're getting that feedback, it's really important, because if we don't know where the problem areas are, we look at our data and we try to target, where we think we need to be. But sometimes, the public, they know, and we just encourage you and or anyone else to please report those things to police, and so that we can work with Jason to, you know, to try to help with that situation. But I do acknowledge it can be a real problem with the hooning, and may I say, unfortunately, Glenorchy is not the only suburb.
No.
And we are working really hard with the divisional inspectors to try to, you know, put some parameters around that. Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to go into that now, Jace, or
Yeah,
keep going with any other questions.
We do have a
Question behind you.
Yeah, we have a question from the floor. Eddie Stephen.
Hello.
Mary's Home Road, Rosetta.
In the mayor's announcements at the beginning of our meeting, she mentioned CCTV being put on cycleways. I know, I asked people whether the cycleway is a road, and nobody can give me a straight answer, but I think it is. I walk on it. I feel like. So I'm just, I think a lot of people are concerned with the thinking behind that CCTV, what we hope to achieve through it, and whether it's a permanent feature, an ongoing feature. I don't know who answers that
That's
question.
operational, so. Okay, so Patrick Marshall, one of our directors.
So that's a council project rather than a lease project, but we did get feedback from Glenorchy Police about what the hotspots were along the facility. That is a permanent installation, it will remain there, we'll look to expand it in the future. We've focused on those three key areas to start with, as being the known, we've had most reports of issues on the intercity highway.
But what will it achieve? What will it achieve? What will you do with it?
We're then able to share that information with the police. Yeah.
Yes, I've had to talk to that from a policing operational point of view. So firstly, the bike track I would class as a road related area. So we do have the ability to enforce traffic legislation on that cycleway. We also have been very lucky lately, after a lot of hard work on the council and from the council side, and also our IT department. We have live access to those cameras now at the Glenorchy police station, and that to us is a real game changer. It gives us the ability to not just watch the live footage, but also search back through and look for recorded information that comes there. We know that the bike track out here is a bit of a hotspot for, you know, whether it's the battery operated bikes, the petrol bikes. We know that there's mopeds and dirt bikes that are being ridden up there. But having that footage gives us the ability to be able to go back through, capture that footage, and help us try to identify the person. Ultimately, for us to be able to progress anything in a court setting, seize a bike or whatever it might be, we need to have evidence, and that footage assists us with the evidence. We might not look at it and go, we know who that is. There might be some description of a motorcycle, it might be some distinctive clothing, shoes. Generally, our people that are committing offences commonly don't change their shoes too often, which is a fact. It's all those sort of little things that, again, helps build a piece of the picture. The footage is one thing, public information is another, because we're not watching the cameras 24 hours a day, we're not reviewing the cameras 24 hours a day, but to have that input from the public as well. So whilst we have that live view of our station, and of course we have it in the spot so that it is watched. We don't have police, unfortunately, sitting at the station watching it all the time. But when a member of the public dials in and they lets us know what's going on and reports something through Crime Stoppers, that's another avenue for us to investigate. So it's really important. That's that reporting.
Well, I've got you here. What's the speed limit on the cycleway?
That's a really good question. You've stumped me with that. But there should be no motor vehicles on the cycleway. So anything that's being driven on the cycleway, I would be looking at some form of negligent, dangerous driving, drive without due care, something along those lines, which incorporates the manner of driving, not necessarily just speeding, not necessarily not wearing a seatbelt, not necessarily just not wearing a helmet. It incorporates the whole manner of driving to build to a more serious charge.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Jason. And I guess taking your point one step further, and I'm not sure, some of you may or may not have seen our Tasmania Police social media pages today and or Facebook page particularly, but we have been able to release some dash cam footage in order to try to seek witnesses and or people who were in a near, very, very near miss with a truck on one of our highways. And I guess it just goes to you know, that extreme end of the example of why the CCTV and or dash cam footage is so important, because we wish we could, but we just can't be everywhere all the time. However, I can say even just from putting that post up this morning, we have been inundated with information from the public, which I am incredibly confident will help us resolve that incident. So anything like that where we can have CCTV, dash cam footage or anything like that, we are 100% behind, and we certainly encourage. Yeah.
So can I just ask, do you think we need to have signs on the cycleway saying no electric bikes, no petrol bikes? I mean, you know, because
You don't have
is
that,
it an
do
offence
you?
if there's no sign?
It makes no difference from an enforcement point of view. When it comes to electric bikes, of course, there are legal electric bikes that are permitted and can be used around the place. It's when they reach a certain kilowatt that's a whole nother level of testing and things like that. But there certainly are legal bikes that can be ridden that are electric.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would hurt, but it would have to be quite specific. So I think it's over 250 kilowatts on an electric bike. It has to be under that, and it also has to be able to cut out at under 25 kilometres an hour and under. Unfortunately, there are a lot of probably vehicles, electronic bikes getting around at the moment that are over that wattage and that are exceeding that speed limit. So we are, and I was quite seriously only speaking about this afternoon with my some of my shift members to look at the legislation around that so that we can enforce it. I guess, you know, quicker and with more legislative support behind us, because we certainly don't want to get into a situation like some other states are. We want to try and be on the front foot, and electronic bikes are one of those things that we really want to try to keep ahead of the game.
Alderman Alderson?
Thank you. I have a question regarding electric bikes. So
Please.
basically, I know what the rules are around electric bikes interstate, but in regards to Tasmania,
Yeah.
at what stage do they become a licensed vehicle where you have to have a driver's license? Obviously can be susceptible to being, you know, booked for drink driving over the legal limit on some of these if you're using them on a public street. So, for example, if you're using an e-scooter on a public street and it does greater than 30 kilometres an hour, for example, is that the cut-off point where you have to have a licence to operate that vehicle or not?
Yeah, so at the moment, my understanding is the law states basically that if it is over a certain kilowatt, so over that 250, and if it exceeds that 25 kilometre an hour and it doesn't cut off, if it's above that, there are electronic motorcycles and or bikes that can be registered, but they have proper brakes, they have indicators, they have everything that you would expect a motor vehicle to have, and they require registration and insurance and all of those things.
So if not,
at
they're
the
breaking
moment,
the law. So if they're going over 30 k's, they're breaking the law.
Yeah, so
they don't have those options.
So at the moment, you can purchase aftermarket kits that fit to, you know, to an electronic bike, which will make it go faster. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, it might fit under the interpretation of what a motor vehicle is. However, it hasn't gone over the pit, so to speak. It hasn't been made roadworthy. It doesn't have indicators. It doesn't have proper brakes. It's not fit for purpose. That, you know, that bike may not be fit for purpose to have that aftermarket product put on. So I guess, you know, that's my point, in that we're sort of noticing that there's starting to be a stretch and a gap in these things, and we need to get ahead of the legislation to try and make sure that we can enforce those things without it being overly complicated, because that's just, it's no use to anyone. Yeah.
And I've seen push bikes. I've followed them that are doing 40 kilometres an hour on the public street. It's just obviously got, you know, a petrol engine or something attached to it.
Yeah, that's right. And some are petrol, less so now, but some are. But it's the electric side of things that we I guess are now sort of starting to see rise.
If you're talking specifically about drink driving as well, regardless of the vehicle, whether it's classed as a motor vehicle or not, we've always had an offence for being drunk in charge of a vehicle, vessel or animal. So a drunken person leading their horse down the road, probably as it was back in the day.
So they could be an e-scooter on the cycle.
Absolutely. You walk your dog when you're clearly intoxicated and you can't look after yourself or the dog, you can be arrested.
I can be booked in my electric chair going down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Luke, Director Luke Chu would like to say something.
Yeah, so just to clarify on the bikes and the e-bikes, they're allowed to travel faster than 25 kilometres. They can travel right up to the speed limit. They can't have their motor assisting once it hits the 25 kilometre mark.
Yeah.
So if they're riding down a hill on the road and it's a 50 kilometre speed limit, they can go 50 kilometres a week.
But not, not on the road, no, we don't want them on the road. You know, sometimes we're seeing, you're right, but sometimes, we're seeing on the road travelling, in a 50 kilometre zone up to 80 kilometres an hour it is so dangerous. It is just so dangerous. And, we just are really trying to get that education and awareness out there. Also for parents, because I think the kids often know how to modify these, or young people know how to modify these bikes and where to get the kits from and all of the rest of it. Unfortunately, sometimes parents have no idea that this is happening and or what the legal requirements are. So it's that real education process at the moment that we're starting to work on as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Kenton.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I am interested in people on their phones while they're driving. I imagine it's kind of a global issue now, but it must be hard to detect when it's been a factor in crashes, because obviously no one wants to admit that they're on their phone. Are there any stats that are taken around that?
Around
Statistics around when there's a crash and someone's being distracted by their phones, is that noted?
Look, I'm sure the Road Safety Advisory Council and or MAIB and state growth, I'm sure there are definitely statistics around that. I don't have them with me at the moment, but I'm sure that data is gathered by the Road Safety Advisory Council and others, and we record those statistics when we know. But quite often you're right, we may turn up to a traffic crash and it may look like inattention. We have to also be able to prove that with the evidence. Sometimes though, through witnesses, we can absolutely determine that. And quite often we, as in road safety policing, but also uniform policing members, are out conducting operations, and you'll see them on our social media pages often, where we are out targeting road users who are using mobile phones and or other devices that distract them, and just trying to get that message out there. Yeah. So I'm sure the data does exist. Yeah.
And certainly if we're looking at road fatalities or serious crashes, through our crash investigation services, mobile phones are certainly one of the key pieces of information where we will either, under the coroner's authority, seize mobile phones, as well as a range of other things, including the vehicle. Phones are downloaded. We have the ability, providing it complies with the legislation, for us to conduct searches of phones back through telcos to see if phones are being used, message content and all those sorts of things that may coincide with the time of the crash. So that forms part of investigation into those more serious
matter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Vanessa?
No, but it's very interesting, gruesome, but interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
I've got a little bit to skip through locally if
We'd love to
everyone's
hear
got
that.
time. So for those that know me, I'm obviously at the Glenorchy station. I've got 65 members there that are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A significantly busy station, but of course road safety is one of the key focuses, as it is across other divisions and other areas of Tasmania Police. The two things we obviously focus on is prevention and then detection. So prevention activities that we use, and Vanessa's touched on a few of these. Obviously the media is a big one for us to push messaging out for education and the like. Our police operations, that's why we put those in the media when they happen and what comes out of them, to try and inform the public that we're out there doing this, and that element of surprise, that don't break the law because we could be around the corner. We do a lot of work that obviously aligns with state and national initiatives, as in Road Safety Week, our Operation Crossroads that you might have heard of, and other factors like that are happening. Within the local area, public liaison, whether it's exactly what we're doing here now, our Couple with a Cop and Neighbourhood Watch meetings, the road safety pop-up store that we're doing with the council on Wednesday, all really important initiatives. We go and give talks at local schools as well on that topic. Is a good part of the prevention, as well as what's happening more broadly with our young people and the changes to licensing with the passengers that they're now not allowed to have in their vehicles. Their licence restrictions for their green Ps as well as the red Ps that never used to exist back then. That's some of the prevention, and then obviously we go into detection. Again, I can't reiterate enough. It's public support in providing that information to us that leads us to see what's going on in the community, so we can target an appropriate area appropriately. We've had a number of operations out here over time, and I won't go through them all with you, but you may recall the significant hooning that was going on over near Incat. And I know the council's done some fantastic work over there with the road surfacing. We last year ran an operation over there, and I think it was 7 vehicles that we clamped from that operation. More recently, we've done operations out on Link Road at Claremont. We've done operations on Arncliffe Road out at Claremont, based off some statistical data that was passed from council that assists us with that as well. And just some of the things that we're doing, as well as obviously our mobile patrols, targeting speeding, hooning, random breath tests and the like for that. With just from Glenorchy Station this financial year, our members have issued 961 infringement notices. So we certainly don't, drive around and overlook things that are occurring. We're absolutely out there. We're absolutely enforcing it. We've seen, unfortunately, an increase in infringement notices that we've been issuing, but obviously we've had a really sharp focus on road policing as well. So, of course, if we're out there really running these operations, we're by default going to get some more results because they're out there doing the hard work. Drink driving, Southern Tasmania, 47,000 random breath tests this financial year. That's a hugely significant number. Police officers out there conducting a random breath test on someone. Why do we do it? As Peter said, what an inspiring talk that Peter had just then. We've had 10 fatal crashes this calendar year. That's 10 people that have lost their lives, 10 families that have lost a loved one, 10 people taken from our community. It has significant impacts. 104 people have received serious injuries. Unfortunately, motorcyclists are overrepresented in those statistics. But we've obviously spoke about a lot of things, but what can we do? Of course, continue that education, speak to our young people, let them know that these behaviours aren't acceptable. We're not, the standard that we walk past is what we accept, and it's important that as a community we stand up and go, we want to save the life of our community. We don't want our families to be impacted. We don't want our emergency services to have to go and deal with the aftermath or knock on a loved one's door and let them know that their loved one's not coming home. And together, I think that's where it's important that we get together and really have those meaningful conversations and push the public message that as a council and as more broadly in the community, that it's something that we are in tune to and something that we really want to push the safety message on. So, yeah.
Thank you, Alderman Liddell.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was very good. Just on the random breath test, how prevalent is the checking for other drugs?
Yep. So depending on obviously the belief that we have, we obviously have our moral fluid tests.
So you don't do the two together?
Oh, we can, absolutely.
Sometimes,
Yep, absolutely. So speaking specifically about Glenorchy, we've actually seen a very, very slight decrease in our drug drivers that have been detected, but we've seen an increase in our drink drivers. Now, we went through a stage, I'm sure Vanessa would be able to probably confirm this from a broader point of view. We've seen, with the introduction of our testing and streamlining of our testing, and things are happening a lot quicker now than what they were, and obviously technology catches up, that we've seen drug driving really take an escalation to the point that it was probably more prevalent than drink driving. And that may still be the case maybe across more broadly, but yeah, we've sort of seen a little bit of a steadiness or a slight decline in our figures.
Okay, and the other thing is with MIV, they charge extra for motorbikes and that. But motorcycle deaths is like 30% plus of the total deaths. So that's a significant amount.
Yep.
How are we going to address that? And we all see the hurting with those bikes. Some don't even display number plates.
Yep.
So are you cracking down on that area in particular?
But yeah, I sit here as a motorcycle rider myself. I recently paid my $780 registration for my motorcycle, which
Of course, yes, that was the fine.
is significant. No. And yes, you're absolutely right. When we see motorcycles, there are a large percentage of those that are our illegal trail bikes, our stolen dirt bikes. Unfortunately, our young people that are tearing around the streets in bikes that are classified and go over the threshold that are classed as motorcycles. That is certainly a significant number of those. On top of that, there are the fact is on a motorcycle you are vulnerable.
Very high risk.
Yep, I've been to a motorcycle death on a very quiet piece of road that the estimated speed was 20 kilometres an hour, and it was a fatality. You are very vulnerable when you are riding a motorcycle. Of course, there are not just young people, adults that are out there, and you know, we no doubt have seen and heard some of the speeds that happen on motorcycles. They are very, very powerful pieces of machinery with very little safety features on them. And by default, this is what we see. It's about that education for us, and then detecting those doing.
And can I add to that, please, Jace, if you don't mind, Peter? We do acknowledge that motorcycle riders are difficult to manage when they're not following the law. We're starting to use a lot of technology to assist us with that, and we are now using a lot of drones up in the air in certain parts of our state, so that we can get a high view and track vehicles to a location where we can then intercept them and or take possession of them. Because our legislation, we are bound by, of course, and we're also bound by pursuit policy, and we're, you know, those bounds are generally higher around motorcycles because of the risk that Jason was just talking about. So we are now introducing technology to try to assist us with joint operations to manage that.
Thank you.
Drones in particular are a pretty common part of our operations now. We run one, I reckon it would have been, we put it out in the media, I would say 4 or 5 weeks ago out around Claremont over 2 nights, and we had a drone up in the air both nights there. Now, of course, drones don't travel across suburbs or do 200 kilometres an hour across, you know, down the Brooker Highway to the Bridgewater Bridge. So there are limitations to it, but certainly when you're targeting a specific area, commonly with dirt bikes and young people and some of the things we're seeing in the suburbs, drones are a really good piece of kit. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Alderson?
Yeah, so just a question around motorbikes, because the same applied to them in regards to, is it possible, is it difficult to clamp a motorbike, and can you also seize and have them crushed and destroyed along the same lines as a motor vehicle?
Yep,
Absolutely.
so bikes are seized, yep, cars that we can clamp or confiscate, motorcycles are seized. So there's a few different things. Obviously, we have legislation that requires us to actually observe the offending. So if you was to phone and say, I've just seen this bike or this car spinning its back tyres or whatever, and then we was to go there, you was to give us a registration number, and we was to get a statement off you and then go and speak with the driver. That doesn't give us the authority to seize the vehicle. It's actually a bit of a myth that the public think we can. The legislation doesn't allow us to do that. But we can still proceed against the driver if we know who it is and send them to court, but we don't have the legislative authority to seize the vehicle. For us to seize or clamp a vehicle, motorcycle or car, then we as police have to actually observe the offence going up.
Right, yeah. I'm thinking more along the lines, you know, if something's caught doing, you know, you have a motorbike doing 180 k's across, for example, the Bridgewater Bridge, it gets caught in the detection system there, the cameras, etc. Would that automatically, because it's 100 k's over the speed limit, gets seized and destroyed or not?
So the cameras are all through state growth, so the cameras are totally separate to Tasmanian Police.
Yeah.
And they will deal with their infringement
So
side
do
of
they
things.
pass that information on if someone's 100 k's over or not?
Yeah, they do. At times they do. If it's a really excessive speed, then they will let us know. And this is where CCTV, drone footage, dash cam footage, all of those things are really useful to us because that evidence coupled together sometimes will allow us to be able to go and seize a motorcycle and or a motor vehicle and proceed against the driver.
I think currently at Glenorchy Station, and I haven't counted this in the last couple of weeks, I would say right now we'd have 30 bikes there. 30 bikes that have been seized. Some stolen, others for hooning and those trail bike type offences. So, that's just a Glenorchy Station, yeah. Yep.
But rest assured, where we can, we absolutely do.
And I guess rest assured where you can, the owners don't get the bikes back.
A lot of the time.
Sorry, just to clarify, so if, you said that, like, you have to see, the police has to see an incident, for that vehicle to be seized. So just to confirm, so you see a video, CCTV or dash cam, all that sort of footage, so is that you seeing it and then being able to do something about it?
Yeah, often that will allow us to launch the investigation, and that adds weight to us being able to potentially seize the motor vehicle and or the motorcycle, but at least to be going in and speaking with the owner and trying to get an account for, interview them, how do you explain this?
Yes. Yeah. And so same with hooning and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect, thank you.
Which is why we push so much. We push Crime Stoppers if people want to remain anonymous. A little bit more difficult because we often need a witness, but at least it shows us a pattern of behaviour and where things are occurring, and we can target our patrolling from my point of view, and I'm sure from Jace's as well. But at the Enough is Enough website, where you can upload footage as well. But if you leave your details, then we can get in touch with you, come and get a statement, take the footage, and start our investigation.
So, yes.
With your road bikes and that, you still got those private bikes with your officers on them and don't appear to be in uniform. You still got those.
We may or may not, Peter.
Sit around with the dog. Good answer. I'll take my police. You still got them? Good. I like it. I
thought you said you'd like it.
No, I do.
Yes, no, they're a great tool.
thing.
Yeah, and they're part of our toolkit that we have that we use. Yeah, absolutely.
You want more?
Yeah, we absolutely.
So on closing.
Use the ceasefire to do it.
Okay, thank you. On closing, I think this has been a significant conversation. As you probably noted, I'm very in much admiration for Peter Fraser. His daughter was accidentally hit by a truck driver speeding and she was decapitated. Now, I don't know how you ever recover from that, let alone go out and set up something that he has done. But let us always remember that our police force, our paramedics, our frontline services are dealing with this sort of trauma day in and day out. And I'm sure the little television screens behind their eyes don't always shut out.
No, I did for 20 years.
So let's be grateful.
I've had to attend.
So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of our community for what you do and do every single day. I think it's admirable, and take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do for us.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Have a round of applause. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Wednesday, yes.
Thanks so much for your support.
Anytime, anytime. Thank you. And now I have pleasure in inviting Matt Browning, Operations and Maintenance Program. This is his baby. Matt, I'm just going to have to be excused for 2 seconds. I'm going to have to ask the deputy to take over. Could you start the show?
Right, no worries. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, elected members and members of the public. So, my name is Matt Browning. I'm Manager of Works, as I just mentioned. And today I'm going to give an overview of what the Work Centre delivers to the community and as an internal service to the council. In some ways, I'm going to say it's unfortunate because we do so much. This is a little bit of death by PowerPoint. But in the other way, it's amazing because all the work we do actually do. What I'll do is I'll give an overview of what we do, our key functions, and then we'll break it down to cost centres. I'll try and keep it light. I look forward to any questions at the end of it. Keeping in mind I have one person covering off for 100 odd people, so I may not be able to answer everything. So this is our work centre. It's located at 34 Viesti Drive, just up the road. So the work centre, it's an operational hub for council. It delivers internal and municipal facing services. When I say internal, we have fleet and plant, we have procurement, we have stores that carry our PPE, that sort of stuff. And externally, we're quite obvious in the municipality. We maintain roads, footpaths, stormwater assets, parks, open spaces. If the community engages with it, we've probably touched on it, worked on it, or built it. We're 102 staff, so we're a considerable amount of people. We're about a third of the workforce. We operate 24/7. Now, when I say 24/7, our normal working hours are 7:30 to 4:30, but we have staff that start on an earlier shift around 6 a.m. to do cleanliness and cleaning around our CBDs and monitor our cycleways and that sort of stuff. We also have staff that start later in the day during summer to look after Tolosa Park and those sort of things. We also have staff that work on weekends. We have staff that work on public holidays. Finally, we have an after-hours emergency service that does answer 24 hours a day as well. As I've touched on, a third of the workforce. We're probably one of the most visible right there in high vis, and we interact with community every day. I thought it was worth noting that with 102 people and everything we do, as the community grows and as our asset space grows, so do the responsibilities we have to do. So in the work centre, we have 4 key main areas. We have our civil and capital works, which do our major construction and upgrades. We have operations and maintenance, which do the maintenance on our assets to ensure they reach their lifespan. They also carry out minor construction works that bridges the gap between our capital works. We have our fleet workshop and stores. So we have procurement of fleet and equipment. We have mechanical repairs. We have metal fabrication, and we have our stores there. And we also have our admin and support. Bit of a quick pie chart. These are always fantastic on PowerPoints. It just shows there that 68% of our workforce is in our operations and maintenance, and that's predominantly because that area does most of the work with internal workforce, with some supplementation from contractors. The next biggest part on the pie chart is our civil and capital works. We have about 23 staff in that area, and that's delivered with a combination of internal staff and contractors. Then we have our fleet and plant and our admin, which is 2 people, hence 3%. Right, capital works overview. So capital works are just responsible for delivering our major projects. So a lot of that will be our major road reconstructions, our reseal programs. I'm sure many people have seen the night works that's been happening in Springfield Avenue the last week. Got a few of those projects running at the moment. We also do stormwater upgrades, car parks, major footpath renewals. As I touched on before, 23 full-time employees, and it's a mixture of internal and external work. It's made up, we have in our management team, we have a civil supervisor that also overviews the whole capital area and also delivers program work themselves. We have 2 capital works coordinators that work with a mixture of internal and contractors. And then we have 2 project managers that manage purely external contractors. In this financial year, this area has a budget of $16.2 million and approximately 125 sites. Touching on those internal coordinators, we have one of our coordinators looks after our road resealing program, as I've touched on Springfield Avenue, and also does footpath and curb renewal works. We have 2 internal crews of 6 staff delivering the footpath and curb renewals, and our road resealing and heavy patching is delivered by contractors. And annual delivery of $6.2 million for this year and 67 sites. by doing our road reseal program and our reconstruction work. It extends our asset life and reduces long-term renewal costs. I've put here some indicative figures, which I think I may have touched on at a previous council meeting, but Arunta Crescent, Corambi Street, this is indicative for a major reconstruction. We did 1.3 kilometres of new concrete curb and channel, 2,000 square metres of new footpath, and we put in 5 new accessible compliant access ramps and 5,500 square metres of new road pavement, which is a considerable amount of work. Our previous presenters from Tas Police stole my thunder here a little bit, but we're touching on Sunmont Street. We've also recently put in the anti-hooning high friction surfacing, which has been a boom. We haven't had any issues there since.
Maybe, can I just ask, is it so cost prohibitive we can't put it in some of the other known areas?
At the moment, we're trialling it to see how it works, but we do have other areas that have high friction seals. So as you come off Springfield Avenue up over 4th Avenue, that's having a high friction seal added shortly to reduce the wheel spin and traction problems moving up over that section of the hill.
So this doesn't necessarily work. It works in one spot, but sometimes you shift the problem somewhere else, don't you?
That is always a problem.
That's the problem.
That is a problem. But that area had considerable amount of
I know.
hooning, and it's stopped it. So as far as we know, the feedback we've had is the first time people came and had a look at it, they figured out what it was and packed up and left.
Well, you're doing something in Sutherland Street too, aren't you?
Sutherland Street, as far as high friction, I'm not sure.
Well, you put some strips in. Steve, was it Sutherland Street?
Chesterman or Sutherland?
Sutherland.
I'd have to take that.
Yeah,
I'm
Chesterman.
not aware of anything. But yeah.
All right. Maybe I imagine.
All right, so this is at Abbotsfield Road, so it's a box out from the curb and channel. So our other internal team coordinator in civil, this team delivers road and footpath renewals, much the same, but also focuses on our stormwater network. We have 2 crews of 8 staff, and in our roads and footpath section, and 1 crew of 4 staff in our stormwater. Annual delivery of $3.2 million for this year across 21 sites. I suppose the bigger focus on this team is updating our stormwater system and our catchment areas and putting additional capacity in so we reduce some of our flooding events. Upgrades include replacing existing and improving stormwater pipes and drainage systems. At the moment, we're working in Catherine Street Reserve, where we're upgrading the improved drainage to catch water runoff, to reduce seepage and direct water into our pipe system. There's the completed curve at Abbotsfield. So we've got next we've got the 2 project managers. So the 2 project managers work with their engineering team, as the rest of the civil team do, and they review designs, prepare tenders and contracts, and procure the contractors. They oversee all aspects from start to finish, so from the tender process through to site visits, ensuring we meet compliance, and then sign off at the end. Each project manager delivers up to 10 projects a year, depending on the size of this project. And for this financial year, they had a budget of $4.3 million across 20 sites. I think I've touched off on a lot of those things. Current projects include main road grant cycleway extensions, and you may have seen the Gibbons place-based car park that's been put in. Operations and maintenance. So operations and maintenance, what do? They work on everything after it's been built. So they look after assets to extend our lifespan. They do minor reconstruction, typically up to about 20 metres, and they bridge that gap that we discussed earlier. So at the moment they have 69 full-time staff, 61 in the field across 6 different programs, with an operations and maintenance supervisor overseeing that. 6 works coordinators attached to each of those programs, and we have 1 technical officer carrying out inspections and overseeing our maintenance schedules. An operational budget overall for this year was $10.7 million. Parks and recreation. They manage and maintain our parks, open space and sporting facilities. We have 3 park crews with 6 staff, maintaining our reserves and open spaces, and 2 turf crews with 5 staff, maintaining our sports grounds and playing services. 3 tractor operators, 2 that do reserves mowing and 1 that specialises turf mowing. Each of those have dedicated machines set up for those tasks. Dedicated playground maintenance worker that works around all our new and existing play spaces, ensuring they're kept up to standard, and have an annual budget this year of $2.7 million. Maintain an average 17.5 hectares of sports fields across 8 facilities and support sporting endeavours like AFL, soccer, cricket, athletics, rugby, baseball and softball. We also have, they look after 45 playgrounds across regional, community and local levels, and are responsible for 160 hectares of parkland reserves and open space. Some line mark here, clean one. Roads maintenance. Roads maintenance, they look after sealed, unsealed gravel roads, footpaths, curb and gutter. Deliver signage installation across the municipality, so that's maintenance and installation, line marking and street sweeping. They respond to public hazards, including potholes, trip hazards, road failures and safety issues. But they also do stuff like collect rubbish, particularly dumped rubbish in our outer areas, mainly around Collinsvale. There seems to be a bit of a spike at the moment. They also collect syringes and they do daily runs for roadkill. We have an asphalt crew with 3 staff to complete footpath patching and road patching and minor constructions. And we have 3 maintenance crews with 8 staff removing, preparing and replacing footpath and curb and channel. The specialist operators, sign maintenance, street sweeper, and we have a plant operator that operates a backhoe. We have a strong reactive focus in this area, and we try to respond fairly quickly to community issues. Annual budget for this year was $3.6 million, which is shared with our stormwater program, which will be separated in the next financial year. And there's a photo of some of our work. Stormwater maintenance. So maintains infrastructure across the municipality. At the moment, we have about 19,000 stormwater pits, which is a lot. We also have the pipe networks, the creek systems, where we maintain flow and drainage systems. A lot of these pits now also have litter traps in them. I mean, we have to manually inspect them, remove the baskets and capture the waste before it goes into our stormwater system. We also have gross pollutant traps. One of the more visible ones is down near the My State Arena, where the outfall is along the boardwalk. That captures a substantial amount of litter and waste before it hits the River Derwent. They're also responsible for bridges and jetties and boat ramp maintenance, and you'll quite often see the teams out pressure washing our boat ramps and that just before the summer spike. 3 maintenance crews with 6 staff in total, which is, it's a push, 19,000 pits, 6 staff, so they do a really, really good job. It's supplemented by external contractors as required, and we focus on high risk locations, so where we have known flooding issues, where we know we have a program for our infrastructure to be upgraded, and it's all from historical. We have a lot of long-serving staff that understand where things happen and why they occur, and they jump onto it quickly. The annual budget, as I said before, is $3.6 million shared with our roads maintenance program. What I didn't touch on before is both of these areas supplement our capital team by working with our civil engineer, and what they'll do is they'll come in and do work to bridge the gap sometimes between when the asset is going to be renewed and I'm trying to think of the best word here. I'm not as eloquent as Tas Police were, I think. Bridge that gap and carry out the maintenance to get us across the line. Urban services.
Can you just explain that photo?
That last slide, sorry, all right. So that's us reacting to a defect out the front of council chambers, and that's from a tree root pushing some of our pavers up.
Thank you. Yeah, I called that in. Yeah. I think it's time by the look of that.
All right, so urban services, they have our clean team, which has been a high focus in the last 12 months. So hopefully everyone's seeing a big change in our CBD amenity clean. I know I've noticed it. They also carry out horticultural works and litter collection in our 3 CBD areas. We have an intercity cycleway team that pass through our cycleway. I touched on that. We have crews starting from 6 a.m. to do a pass through. They check for coma murals and also check for broken glass or anything that may affect cycleway users. We have the graffiti removal, which has been excellent. We've seen a really great push for that in the last 12 months. So also seeing the rollout of our graffiti removal kits and assisting private businesses with removal of graffiti off their premises. We have Tolosa Park and Montrose Foreshore. Tolosa.
Can I just put it up?
Sorry, the number, how many community people, businesses have requested kits?
I haven't got the exact number at the moment, but I believe the turnover's been so high that we may have just run out of stock. So an order was placed last week, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Can I ask a question on that while we're here?
Yes.
So, something that interests me is how many sites would we address with graffiti every year? Matt, you probably can't answer this today because
I'd have to go off the top of my head.
And what's it cost us as a council to remove graffiti out of the 2.7?
I'd have to take that on notice and give
That's
you
fair enough,
feedback. But I think on average, we probably address up to 1,000 sites a month. But when I say that, that could be as small as a tag that's reported up to offensive graffiti sprayed on a whole road surface. So it really does vary, but I can come back with some figures.
We have a GIS or a mapping layer, which we record every single incident of graffiti. We take a photo of it and we log it on the map, and that's available publicly and to elected members. And that would have dates on when they're
And Matthew, my favourite entertainment of a Tuesday morning is your clean team going through Moona with their pressure washers. It is an awesome display of power and water and men working very hard. And then along comes...
Men and women.
Oh, men and women, yeah. Rubbish bins being sprayed, footpaths being sprayed, windows being cleaned up. Then the big truck comes through, then the little sweeper comes through. It's fascinating. I recommend it to anybody, but do have a coffee in your hand.
Thank you. So touching on Tolosa Park and Montrose Foreshore, so we also have the additional 8 hectares of space there now, and it's being utilised really well by the public. We cover arboriculture across all the trees in the municipality, including tree inspections, maintenance and planting, and we also do all the watering of that in the first few seasons until they're established. Carry out footpath cleaning, scheduled cleaning within our CBD areas. That runs through quarterly, a major clean, which is supplemented by the smaller cleans throughout the week. We do public art maintenance, where we organise repairs and preventative maintenance, and we remove graffiti from our artworks. And we're right in the midst of the autumn leaf collection at the moment. So our teams are out at 6 o'clock in the morning, working with our street sweepers. We have a dedicated billy goat leaf vacuum that we tow behind our truck that sucks up the leaves and mulches them. So we'll be doing that right through to the beginning of June, depending on how the season goes. 6 crews with 17 staff in total. It's one of the big areas in operations and maintenance, but it also is a highly visible team. Budget this year of $2.7 million. And that's some graffiti being removed in by one of our team members. Vegetation control manages the vegetation across our municipality. Yet again, this is another small team, 2 crews of 6 staff. They do roadside vegetation, garden beds, creeks and open spaces. They also supplement our Parks and Rec crew, assisting with some of the maintenance around their boundaries of their open spaces. Have a budget this year of $1.1 million and supplemented by external contractors as required. So as a part of that, that's our road herbicide spraying program you see work through our main road corridor. We utilise specialised four-wheel drive equipment, so we have a mower that will do up to about a 35-degree slope, and that's been fantastic. It's cut back on a lot of brush cutting and manual strain injuries. They also support our bushfire mitigation team through roadside vegetation treatment and apply targeted weed controls in our creek systems to stop invasive weeds spreading down through our rivulets and creeks. Last year, they had a targeted clean up of Falkers rivulet, and they removed 32.5 tonnes of green waste, rubbish and debris, 39 tyres and 1 mattress. So They're doing some great work. And that's the veg team working there now.
Matthew, just because I don't know spatial awareness very well, tonnes, like when you say 32.5 tonne of green waste, rubbish, etc., is that like a shipping container, 2 shipping containers?
Well, it sort of varies because green waste doesn't weigh a lot, and some things I would say if you were to put it against shipping containers, a standard 30-foot shipping container, I would imagine that it'd be 2 to 3.
Wow, thank you. I wasn't thinking of it as weight, I was thinking of it as space.
Yep. All right, bushfire mitigation. I'm sure that many of you had the pleasure of working with Stephen Bresnahan. He's a very knowledgeable gentleman. They deliver our bushfire mitigation strategy through target asset maintenance and risk reduction activities. Very small crew, 3 people, supported by external contractors as required, responsible for 45 kilometres of fire trails, culverts, gates and locks. They manage our fire breaks and fuel reduced areas across the municipality, and they have a budget this year of $650,000. The program is primarily proactive, and when I say that, they're out there checking the tracks and trails, and they're onto it straight away. They provide community information sessions, which I'm sure many of you have attended, and they also work in collaboration with other services. So they work alongside TFS, Wellington Park Management Trust, and we have a pretty close working relationship with the City of Hobart. They provide operational and technical support during bushfire incidents, and they play a key role in reducing our risks. That's a member of our team assisting in a controlled burn. Technical officer. Technical officer sits within the operations managers. They manage our inspection and maintenance systems to make sure they align with the way we work. They oversee inspection regimes on our roads, footpaths and other assets. They maintain the tracking of our inspections and defects. They improve workflows and systems. So if they see something that doesn't quite look right, they let us know and we adjust the suit. They work closely with our supervisors and coordinators and project managers, and they develop reporting dashboards to give clear visibility of our asset condition. So anything that comes from me for a report to council is generally generated by the technical officer, so I can't take any credit for that. And they provide reliable data to support operational decisions. They're currently working to correctly apply our new service levels, which were recently adopted, to make sure they align with our maintenance schedules. Street sweeper. So fleet workshop and stores. What do? So they're an in-house service. They centralise our procurement. They provide mechanical support, metal fabrication. They also do refuelling of our larger machinery on site. They work in the field. They work from our workshop. We also have our store who orders in all our equipment and materials, orders in our PPE, and that PPE is for across the whole of the council. It doesn't just support the workshop. It's also a centralised place for our testing and tagging, our key storage. This goes on and on. And it underpins overall the operations of the whole of council. So fleet and plant procurement, this is handled by a fleet workshop and store supervisor. They manage a broad range of equipment from passenger vehicles to utes and trucks, all the way up to massive landfill compactors and all the way down to battery drills. So it's a broad range. I'm thinking from the top of my head, I'm wearing a hat here. I used to work in fleet and workshop. I think we have about 700 pieces of plant and equipment, excluding our fleet. We manage the asset life cycle. So the fleet in procurement, they specify the equipment we need. They work out the life cycle where we get the best utilisation before we have to start doing maintenance. They program that into the procurement cycle. They support purpose delivery across the municipality, across the council, and that's carried out by one team member. The annual budget for this year was $2.7 million across our fleet and plant items. And that's our new Dresser dozer at the landfill.
We have a go on that, mate?
I've had a go at it, I wouldn't trust
Can we have a go?
Oh, yeah.
Workshop, you know? do it.
After.
I don't know, maybe after an in-depth induction.
Yeah, 300 hours.
Yeah, it looks like fun.
Mechanical servicing and repairs. So that sits with a team of 2 staff members, 1 mechanic and a trade assistant. They coordinate all the servicing of all our fleet and plant, as well as our equipment. So at the moment, we have about 130 plus vehicles. So they cover the full range from landfill machinery all the way down to small plant. If it has an engine, we service it. If it has a power cord or a battery, we test and tag it. So they're scheduled servicing, monthly inspections, compliance checks, and reactive breakdown responses. So they're working in the workshop and they're working out in the field. Having that functionality of having in-out staff means that we can react quickly and we can get out and get our crews working again. Support operational emergency services through reliable fleet availability and plant that doesn't break down. Reduces downtime for council operations through that access. Metal fabrication and repairs, yet again, in-house service. And we work with steel, stainless steel and aluminium. We have 2 welder fabricators and they work in combination of in the field and in the workshop. I'm sure everyone's marvelled at our beautiful stainless steel handrails out the front of the chambers. That was completed by our own team.
Yes, Christine was going to give you an award for those. She was so impressed.
Give it to our 2 welders. They support the maintenance of our fleet and equipment. So from time to time, we have to do fabrication repairs on our truck trays, on our machinery. And sometimes they have to fabricate parts if we have a large delay or we can't get parts anymore. They undertake on-site repairs. A lot of those sort of things are generally when we get a car drive through a guardrail or a handrail or a barrier. And contribute to the public. Oh, there you go. I've got ahead of myself. So contribute to our infrastructure by repairing and fabricating our handrails and barriers. And that's a member of our welding team working in our workshop. Stores. I think I've probably gone over this fairly well, but they procure and supply our consumables. So things get ordered in, they get put through our store system, and then our staff go in and check them back out. So then we book it to our project account number so we can track costs against our jobs. It operates with 1 team member, and they manage the receipt, storage and issuing of stock, ensuring materials available when needed, maintain stock control, and we also run a shared tool system. So we have some machinery or some tools that it's not cost effective for council to issue them to every truck or every crew. So we have them on a daily booking system. So as an example, if you want a jackhammer, instead of giving every crew a jackhammer, we have 3 or 4 and we go and book them out. We have the same thing for a lot of our power tools and all that as well, just to save money and make sure we get full utilisation. Right, that's the entrance to our work centre. Support operations. I've got to be honest, the work centre had stopped without the 2 people that keep everything moving for us. We have a team leader and admin support, or admin officer, and they support, as I said before, 1/3 of the workforce, but it's not just our area or work centre that is supported, they also assist other areas. And they're a conduit for all parts of council. So when someone wants to speak to someone in regards to when does this playground get inspected, when do we mow this, who's got a real good idea about that, comes through our support and operations, and they can filter and make sure that the right person gets contacted. They're also the first port of call for anyone that comes into our work centre, and they manage a lot of our invoicing and procurement. We'd be lost without them. They also step in times of emergency, and they'll jump in and they'll operate our 2-way system and log calls in and out when it surpasses what we have capacity for in our electronic system. I think I'm nearly on the last one. I'm sure everyone's going to go, thank you. Compliance, oh no, actually I'm not, I just realised you've got another 45 minutes of this. Our compliance officer, so our compliance officer issues our road reservation permits. So as many of you are aware, that if anyone's working within our road reservation, so they're altering anything within our road reservation or using our road reservation to work from while they're working on private property, they have to do a permit. Our compliance officer issues those permits. Also goes out and checks afterwards or during the process to see if there's any defects, make sure that it's reinstated correctly, the correct sub bases are used, the correct finishes are used, and the correct percentages and folds have been put back in place across our paths and driveways. Besides from that, they're also our main point of contact for the other service providers. So think Tas Water, Tas Networks, Telstra, NBN, and their representatives, Ventia. They identify non-compliance. They also do patrols. They drive around and they look for work that's happening and they cross-check it with our road reservation permit system, and they'll pull people up if they aren't compliant or if they're carrying out unsafe work. So we've had 2 private sites that we've recently stopped and provided advice about how they didn't have any traffic management, which is directly affecting our roadway, and we've provided advice and seen to it that they are compliant with our requirements. I thought it was worth touching on that we're having a software refresh at the moment and some of the benefits that come from it. We're moving away from our existing asset system to a new system, which will integrate with the whole of council. This will give us the opportunity to better log costs against our individual assets. Some of the big advantages of this is that we'll be able to see what that asset costs, how often we're working on it, and we'll feed that information into our capital replacement planning. It'll also give our teams the improved functionality and feel with mobility. We'll be moving to a different timesheet system, and when crews find things in the field that are unrelated to their task but affect our municipality, they can lodge a defect straight into the system so we can get straight onto it. And also, it ties in with our new service levels. Let's make the service level questions. Yeah, so it will also tie in. At the moment, we've got a team. Tim Horton was here presenting with me before. He's taken his service levels and he's now incorporating them to new maintenance schedules to make sure we adhere to them. What the community doesn't see, work happening outside of business hours. So as I touched on before, we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week emergency after-hour service. So we have a duty supervisor that can be contacted any time outside of working hours. And we respond to all manner of things. It could be storms, flooding, vandalism, road accidents. Many of these things happen between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning. We support Tasmanian Police, Tasmanian Fire Service, emergency services. We do cleanups and we secure sites during the middle of the night. We cover up oil spills. We clean up blood when that has to happen after accidents. All the things that happen during the middle of the night, so it looks good for our municipality and our residents the next morning. As I said, we deliver flood response, including block drains and assisting private properties when required. They also secure council buildings and assets for break-ins, damage or vandalism, so they'll attend and they'll ensure that the building's secure for the evening. And when I said about isolating damaged infrastructure, many of that is stuff like vehicles driving through road barriers or bending signs out into our road corridor. We operate under a structured system with a roster, and we ensure that we have a coordinated response, and there's a new directive supporting that. A member of our waste team doing a clean up through Moona. I think I've touched on this as well too, but early starts, weekends and every day of the year, including Christmas Day. We deliver these services every single day. So as I touched on, early starts for our cycleway, early starts for our CVD, early starts in our bus mall cleaning, early starts checking our murals before there's a lot of people moving around. We also work over the Christmas and New Year period. So we have a crew that works right through doing our amenity cleaning and litter collection. We have our sports turf teams work right through, ensuring the grounds are ready because a lot of games happen between that period. And we also, Tolosa Park, highly utilised on Christmas Day. So Tolosa Park is always open, we always have a ranger on site to the point that we usually have people queuing up the first day the customer service reopens, and book Glenorchy Park from out of hours, our bushfire mitigation team also support control burns and also go around and close our reserves and put safety signs out when we have total fire events. And our park rangers look after, like I said, close the park, but they also monitor Montrose foreshore, and they check our other parks and reserves over the weekends. Our street sweepers run on the weekend. I think that's covered it. Oh, we really are nearly at the end. Beautiful. So how does someone raise a request? So obviously you can come in to see the customer service team in-house. You can call us on 621 800, and you can also email us by the GCC mail.
After hours, the call number is?
If you call that number, it will redirect after hours to a call centre. And what happens is our after hours duty supervisor will receive a text message with a logged number, a name, a contact phone number, and the after hours emergency. And then they have to send an acknowledgement. And if it isn't acknowledged after 2 messages, they'll call them. And if after 2 calls no one answers, they ring me.
Thanks.
Right.
Sorry, is it a question?
Yeah. What about through Snap, with this new Snap send and solve? Is that also being incorporated in this process for someone to raise a request with council? You're picking stuff up through there or not?
It is, but we're moving to a new system. So with our new software, we're looking at incorporating a portal that people will be able to lodge a complaint through that way, and we think that will probably be more effective. But it is still a viable option at this stage. Yep.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Alderman Marks.
Question, with trees overhanging, council footpaths and stuff, but the trees on somebody else's property, what's the situation there?
So what we do then is our vegetation coordinator will go out and do an inspection, and they'll usually take photos, and then we'll come back and we'll do a letter, and we'll issue a letter to the resident, usually with some measurements and the dimensions, and say that this is encroaching on our footpath, and we ask them to remove it. We give them a period to remove it, and if not, we follow up. And if in severe circumstances, we'll carry out the works ourselves for public safety.
So I know down in King George and Fifth Avenue, on the left-hand side, there's bushes on the ground. They're only small bushes, but they're growing out over the footpath. Same up in Chapel Street, there's a few trees hanging over the footpath that are extremely dangerous.
If you could lodge that through our customer request system, we'll make sure it's attended to.
Well, Matthew, oh, sorry, Steve,
Thank you. Matthew, earlier you said the police articulate themselves incredibly well, and you might have slipped. That was an incredible presentation. That gives me a lot of confidence.
I hope no one counted the ums or ahs.
I understand you speak so well, you speak with confidence. It should give the community confidence that, and I'm so glad that we could employ from within when your position came up, and you've already shown great leadership, and we should pat you on the back for what you're doing. And for this presentation, all right, it's a PowerPoint presentation. It could have been boring, but you weren't looking at it. You just presented it to us, so well done.
I think I was looking at it, and I can't take the accolades. Really, it's 102 people that really know what they do and do their job well. I'm just the guy that's there to help them do their job.
Leadership is a greatly valued asset, mate. Leadership is so well.
Okay, Councillor Kendall, sorry, Eddie, you'll just have to wait for Councillor Kendall and then I'll throw to you.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks so much, Matt. That was really great. After 3 years, I learnt so much, and I loved seeing the different sections spelled out and all of those jobs that nobody wants to do, that, you know, and done at times where nobody wants to be doing them. So I really appreciate the work that you do and your presentation. So my question is, who do you think has the most difficult job at council?
Me.
In the works department.
Oh, right, so that was a loaded question.
You say yourself.
No, I don't think so.
I could answer that. I actually think it is you, because I've done your job, and I know how tough it is to manage all the different disciplines, everything that's going on at the same time. It's such a dynamic environment, and you've got your own workforce, you've got safety team, you've got external customers, you've got us, you've got me nagging you. There's all this stuff coming at you all the time, and you handle it really well, Matt. So, and I do appreciate how well you've managed the role and how you've come up through the ranks, and yeah, you've really displayed your leadership skills today.
Thank you. I'm sure I'm blushing now. Honestly, everyone has got some factor of a job that isn't very pleasant. I think they all wear it really well.
Thank you, Matthew. We have a question from the floor. It is Stephen. Mary's Hope Road, President.
My question is about the cycleway again. Does council do anything relating to the cycleway apart from keeping it clean?
We mow it, we brush cut it, we repair the fence all the way along.
So it's the fence you're responsible for, but any repairs to the cycleway itself, nothing.
The actual, yep, we do.
You've had that and stuff.
Yep, and we do bay section replacements. You would have recently seen in the last 12 to 24 months there's been a major repainting all the way through of the centre line, so that was all handled by us. Yep. But if there's any defects that haven't been picked up, more than happy to see them come through our customer request system and we can take a look.
And will you have anything, your group have anything to do with this new CCTV going in?
We won't be interacting with it, but
That's a different area of council. That's our facilities team.
So it's an entirely separate group will maintain, etc.
correct. But I think it's a fantastic thing for the community.
That's all. Relax.
All right, thank you.
So thank you, Matthew. I think you're justifiably proud of the, was it 102?
102 people.
Yeah, 102 people you lead. We're very proud of the work you are doing, and certainly complaints are down and praise is up, which is I'm extremely grateful for. And if someone dares to whinge at me for something trivial this week, I'm going to make them read your report chapter and verse. Because who knows some of the things that we do in the dead of night, cleaning up blood, vomit, poo, goodness knows what else.
I didn't touch on all that, but we do all those things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, bit, the whole bit. Anyway, thank you, wonderful work. Now with that, unfortunately, I have to bring our open meeting to a close and farewell to Steenbergen, because we do have some additional work to do. And I'd just like to say, if you've enjoyed our open workshop tonight, we have another one coming up on the 22nd of June. And that one, the first part of the agenda will be about the Derwent Estuary Program. So if you'd like to come along and ask any questions, you're welcome to do so. And then, of course, we do hope you join us for the 25th of May, which is our next full council meeting. So thank you very much for attending online. Feel free to watch it over and over and over. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.